A sneak peek at what's coming up next.
If you're an autistic creator, okay, and you're not willing to put in the effort to understand the neurotypical person, or if as far as the effort you're willing to put in for other people is to assume shit about them in a very shitty fucking bad faith way, then you need to shut the fuck up.
Listen, in honor of the passing of Ozzy Osbourne, I'm going to get the Black Sabbath MMR shot. So, do you know that we're gonna have to cancel the show in a few years? Like probably what 2028.
Why?
The show is gonna be because RFK is gonna cure autism.
I'll make this stance. All right, I'll probably regret this later, but I'm going to make this stance. If you're a person who says that no autistic person suffers with autism, fuck you. Sorry, I'm ranting again, but like, the amount of people who say you can't get rid of autism because it changes who they are, yes, it will. But it will also allow them to live a fucking life a lot more independent and a lot better than they're living fucking now. And how do I know they're not living a very good life? Because they're stuck in a fucking group home 24/7, having a bunch of barely paid fucking human beings watch over them and have to follow treatment plans that another asshole who barely gives a fuck about them made.
Get ready for peak autism infotainment. Thrilling topics, amazing guests, great laughs, and autism.
On the Spectrum, an autistic podcast.
Welcome to On the Spectrum podcast. My name is Stephen Norton, and this is...
I'm Nick.
Yes, he is. He's very Nick.
Yeah.
And today, we're getting back to basics, folks. Getting back to talking about some basic autism things. Autism life experience.
Things that are relatable.
Yeah. For the subject, I wanted to talk about the struggles in understanding what is appropriate and not inappropriate, and struggling, being honest and telling the truth. Like a lot of autistic people talk about how we have a need to be honest. Like a lot of us tend to be very blunt or direct. We say things matter-of-factly or as they are.
Yeah.
And some of us eventually learn that we need to change the way we say things or phrase things differently, or sometimes omit facts or tell white lies or use euphemisms to take people's feelings into account. Because even if something's true, the way that it's said or people being confronted with things too bluntly can make them feel bad, right?
Yeah,
particularly the context for this was me thinking about the workplace. I'm looking for a promotion right now. I'm interviewing on Wednesday, and I have to take that into mind. So the store that I'm interviewing for has certain areas where their performance has not been so great. So if I'm going in there, and obviously my goal is to go and try to improve things in that store, right? I have to be careful how I phrase it so that the person I'm interviewing with doesn't think that I'm shitting on them or I'm saying that they suck.
Right. Which can be a hard thing to kind of navigate, right? Whether I sound weird. Yeah, sorry, I derailed myself on that one. So the interesting part about that is, like, everyone likes to say, and I know somebody's going to be like, well, neurotypicals do that. Yeah, no shit. They're fucking human. But people like to say how they want honesty, they want truth, they want to hear people's real opinions, but no, they don't. None of us really want to hear that stuff. We say we want to, but then when somebody gives us that real opinion, we immediately get defensive. Well, no shit, you're going to. I mean, somebody's essentially, quote unquote, attacking at you. But I think, like, in your situation, when you're going to be sitting in that interview, it would be in your best interest to be mindful of how you place the blame of the not so well performing store.
Right. And I have seen people come in, like upper management.
Yeah.
I worked for a company when I was younger, and I guess I didn't know it because I wasn't really involved with finances, but I guess it was a poor performing location.
Okay.
Financially, they were losing money. So they sent this hatchet man in to basically come in and like shake things up. But in that position, right, he's coming in, he has all the power, so he doesn't care about people's feelings. So you come in and you can be direct and honest and say, this is a fucking waste of money, or this is a fucking waste. This person's position is useless. And they just cut people out, fire people, do that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with, when you're not in the position of power, like I'm looking to get promoted.
Elevate your level of authority.
I'm looking to get promoted, so I have to be careful what my district manager and what this other manager thinks when I go interview them. I have to be careful that I've had experiences like this. So I actually told this story to somebody the other day. When I was a teenager, I worked for Dunkin' Donuts, and I was an assistant manager at Dunkin' Donuts when I was like 18.
Right.
Eventually, I applied for a manager position at another Dunkin', and I actually got the position and was fired within like 2 days. And I'll explain why. It had nothing to do with my performance. It was what I said. So,
I mean, some would actually say that's part of performance.
Well, so I went in there and I was trying to make things better, right? And one of the things I noticed was in the drive-through, there was a giant pile of ice that somebody dumped there. So somebody was dumping like dirty ice. It had like cream and shit spilled in it. So they dumped the ice, and there was a pile of ice on how like the drive-throughs, they have those little islands of grass and stuff sometimes. So it was on the island as you're driving past it. And I mentioned that I thought it looked bad. I'm like, whoever's doing that, we should probably stop because it looks shitty. Like you're driving through and like, is it hurting anything? Not necessarily, but the cream and stuff could attract, I guess, bugs or whatever. But it doesn't look nice. You're driving through the drive-thru and there's a pile of dirty ice.
Right.
So I mentioned that. And apparently the manager was the one doing it. So when I brought it up, she got mad. And so she fired me because I was talking shit about her, even though I didn't know it was her.
Yeah.
But I was being honest, and then I thought it looked like shit.
Well, because like I said in one of our previous episodes, you give somebody the smallest little morsel of fucking power, and they're going to abuse it.
But it was also
They're going to abuse.
it wasn't that I was
That's
wrong.
what they do.
But what I learned from that situation was that my opinion was not wrong. What I said wasn't necessarily wrong, but it was the timing of it.
Yeah.
If I was going to criticize my boss, I should have waited. I didn't know I was criticizing her. But if you're going to be critical of your boss, you need to build a relationship with them first and build some trust so that they're open to listening to your feedback. Versus if you go in, this is for anybody, even if you're not autistic. If you're a manager or if you're going into a position of leadership, you can't just come in with your dick swinging. And I mean, you can, but it's not very effective if you want to have a good relationship with your team. They're going to think you're an asshole.
Right.
You have to build a certain level of trust and build a relationship with them before you start trying to make changes or trying to give them advice, because they're not going to listen to you. Otherwise, they're going to say, who the fuck is this guy? I don't want.
I recently actually talked to somebody. So I just went back to retail about 6 weeks ago, being a manager in retail. And I just said to somebody the other day that if you have to resort to using authority to get things done, then you've already failed as a leader. And I honestly believe that. I believe, honest to God, if you have to swing around your authority, your power, your title, just to get stuff done, you have failed at being a manager, because that means the only reason why somebody did that wasn't because it was a good idea, not because, it benefits us as a team or because they even respect you. It's because they don't want to have punishment. And that's a horrible fucking way to lead, in my opinion. And I have a much slower way of getting things done,
like an old
but
school,
I still get them done.
That's an old school leadership style,
Yes.
like old school management.
Yes.
Like if you ever worked for like an older boss, not so much now because most of those type of people are probably retired. But when I was younger, working for an older guy, some of those older male bosses were like that.
Yep. I actually got taught by a guy who, when I was 19, 20 years old, he was an older guy, but he had spent a long time, like almost 30 years in a different line of work as a supervisor. And then when he switched to being a CVS manager, he completely had a different point of view on it. He didn't believe in coercion, manipulation, force. He believed very strongly in, let's get this done, and here's why.
Yeah.
And of course there were employees who didn't want to fucking do shit, so he just cut their hours. Like, he didn't force them to do anything. He didn't write them up for not doing things. He didn't, do any of that. He just reduced down the number of hours they were working and hired somebody else who was willing. And that was one of the big things he talked about regularly, is you don't need an employee who's good at anything. You need an employee who's willing to learn, willing to adapt, willing to do. And so when I hire people, regardless of where I've worked, that's how I hire people. Do they seem willing? Or did they walk in the door believing they're fucking great already?
Well, like hypothetically in this situation, I'll be walking into an existing team. So in that situation, especially if you're, I would be responsible for helping them increase their performance, right? So you have to, let's say the first like month or so, you're just getting to know them. You're not trying to use your position or your title. You just want to get to know them, figure out what their motivations are, figure out their personality, so you know what might work with them when it comes to coaching or giving them feedback and stuff. Because depending on their personality, certain approaches might not work, right? So that's what I would do. Like if I get this position, I'd spend the first month or so just getting to know everybody, getting my feet wet. Not kind of like just fading into the background. Like I don't want people to notice me too much. I just want to sit there and observe, like ask questions, observe, get to know people, be friendly, and then do whatever work I need to. But I'm not going to like be too hands-on with the crew.
Yeah, so I wanted to do it that way, and I made one comment to somebody about how I wanted to eventually change something a certain way, and then that person told everybody else, and then immediately they tried to do what it was they thought that I wanted out of it, and so I've actually spent a couple of weeks since then getting people to actually do it the way I want them to, and I didn't even intend to like change anything yet, but it was like week fucking 1. I said, I may ask some questions about how they were doing something a certain way. And I kind of said, well, here's how I've done it at previous stores. And then somehow that meant everybody just do. Like, oh my God. So anyway, how does this part of the conversation relate to autism or autistic people?
Because, well, a lot of people are not good at interviewing regardless if they're autistic or not.
That is true.
And this doesn't just apply to interviews. I was just using it as an example. But in an interview, it's much more, the stakes are higher because it's determining whether or not you'll be able to get a position or a job. But you can say things that are honest or truthful for the sake of being honest and truthful. But that will hinder you and prevent you from getting a job or will sour your relationships with people. So it's like struggling to understand when is it okay to say certain things or not. And as I've gotten older, the line seems to be much clearer for me of when I can and cannot say things. But I still do make mistakes and say things that I probably shouldn't have.
So do I, all the time.
Even though I'm being honest or sharing my real feelings, but another person may take it the wrong way or take it as a personal attack or
So I'll say in one regard, something I said a minute ago, here's how it can relate to some folks who are on the spectrum. Because some of us have tendency when we believe we know a lot in a certain subject, we actually come about the conversation when talking to someone else that we believe doesn't have as much information for whatever the subject is, including even autism. We come at the conversation as if we have a level of power, a level of authority about the subject. And I think that's the wrong approach because you're automatically coming at it from a position of they know less than you. Now, whether that's true or not, doesn't matter actually. It's the way you approach the conversation. So like when people, and I see it online, which is a wonderful microcosm of shittiness, but like if somebody says something that you find inappropriate about autism, instead of stepping into it from an authority perspective and trying to shove your smarterness down their throat, why not approach it from the position of relating to them and understanding them?
Meeting them where they're at?
Yeah, meet them where they're at. I love that phrase, and I got it from counseling, not just being in counseling, but also being a counselor at one point. But I think a lot of the times, and granted, again, I'm getting a lot of perceptions just from watching people on social media who are autistic talking about the autistic experience or talking about how neurotypical people suck or whatever. But a lot of the times they're coming at correcting the information from a position of power. And whether you have authority over it, whether you are an expert in something or other, coming at somebody else, you're automatically talking down to them.
Well,
and so maybe this is a way to practice not stepping from a position of authority.
We do know people online who do take the approach you're talking about.
I do.
However, I think for most people, that's too much effort and too much work to try to invest that much energy into being charitable.
But we're asking other people to do the exact same thing, though.
But if you're on the internet, right?
Yeah.
I think people don't take things as seriously, and it's much easier to just like say, well, you're an idiot, and don't say that.
Well,
or
of course
that's not the right way to say.
Because they see words on a screen, they don't see the human being behind it. So I'll say this much. If you're Yeah, I'll be as direct as I can because fuck it, it's our podcast. If you're an autistic creator, okay, and you're not willing to put in the effort to understand the neurotypical person, or if as far as the effort you're willing to put in for other people is to assume shit about them in a very shitty fucking bad faith way, then you need to shut the fuck up because you're not actually helping anybody because nobody's going to fucking listen.
But there are people who are ignorant, but there are also people who are you don't want to engage in conversation with them because they're bad faith. Like if you come across somebody who's homophobic, and let's say they say a bunch of ignorant shit, it might not be worth engaging in the conversation with them, depending on what they're saying.
Hold on. I'm not saying that you should educate people. What I'm saying is if you engage with somebody, don't come from a position of power. In, I'm better than you. I have better morals. I have better ethics. I know this better than you do. I understand things you don't. No.
There's a difference between like somebody saying something using the wrong phrase or terminology that like there's a difference between somebody making a mistake versus somebody who's being malicious or being a troll.
Shitty on purpose.
People being a troll.
Yeah.
Like I see even in a lot of autistic communities on like Facebook, Reddit, things like that. I still see people using terms that are supposedly inappropriate. Yeah. You know, using like function terms and stuff like that a lot of people in the community don't like. But they're 99% of the time the person is not using it in a negative way or trying to be malicious. It's like a parent trying to describe where their kid's at, or somebody who is autistic just trying to describe where they're at. Yeah. But they don't have any ill intent behind what they're saying. So you wouldn't want to go on that person and start saying, "Oh, you're a piece of shit."
Well, but that's just it. A lot of the times,
don't use function language. Fuck you.
But especially, and I'm going to say this as a generalized statement from those I've heard who are low support need. A lot of us who are medium and low support need, we have tendency, because we read a lot about something, we have tendency of jumping down people's fucking throats to correct them. For one,
that's called well, actually.
Place. Yeah, it's not your place to correct the world. And two, even if you are going to correct them in a way that makes sense to correct somebody. Like very often, and I'm kind of obsessed with perceptions and fucking experience and fucking how people get things. Yes, that would be the name. Before? And so
actually,
in a lot of ways, like I think there's a lot of autistic advocates out there that are really doing a disservice to themselves and to other autistic people, because that's what the fuck people see is your ass just correcting everybody all the fucking time. And sure, you know better. Okay, great. You know more about the Civil War than 90% of people out there. Cool. Good for you.
It's like when I corrected you about some ancient Greek thing. And you're like, whatever, bro.
Yeah. Like, because ultimately the accuracy of what you were saying, or
I was talking about how they figured out that the earth was round.
But correcting that in that given moment, I wasn't actually talking about the validity of that or even the accuracy of it. I was trying to use that as a way to describe something else. And instead of hearing what I had to say, you fixated on that. That becomes part of this conversation about it, because he automatically, instead of, and I'm assuming, by the way, because I don't read your mind, instead of hearing what I was trying to say with using that as an example, an analogy, he instead just fixated
I didn't get that
on the
far.
accuracy. Yeah,
I didn't
get fixated on the accuracy
because my brain stopped once you said that thing that I was like, that's not correct.
But in that moment, is that a you problem or a me problem? And not that I like to assign blame to anything. I don't think it's
either necessarily.
Right. It's not an either. But here's my thing about
there's times where you do that too.
Yeah.
Like if you hear somebody saying something and they say something that's factually incorrect, especially if it's something about something.
If it's about human behavior, I jump on that shit quick as fuck.
So the conversation can't proceed forward because you stopped once you heard this thing that was incorrect.
So it's rigidity of thought, right? It's a hyperfixation, rigidity of thought. And if y'all understand how autism works, that's part of actually being autistic.
Do we actually understand how autism works?
That one. What?
I said, do we actually understand how autism works?
No, I think we do, in the sense of the things that drastically impact. Yes. And so
I'm just being pedantic.
Yeah. But there are autistic people out there who have like the 52 autistic traits. There's not 52.
It's kind of like how we don't actually understand how microchips work.
Yeah.
Did you know that like processors and stuff, they don't actually know, like the processors are designed in such a straight, never mind, it's not a conversation, but that's what I meant by we don't know, like we know traits of autism, but do we actually understand how it works?
But we don't necessarily, because there's there's so much, and yes, it's misinformation out there, but there are so many people who want to assume. I was about to change it into a totally different subject, and I want to stay on our acceptable and non-acceptable behavior in public stuff, like the struggle of finding the gray area for it. I want to fixate on that.
Yeah.
But
or being
like,
having to be correct.
Yeah. Like,
but not be rude about it.
So here's the thing, okay? And here's something I'm going to say. It is hard, and this is one of our social deficits. And yes, I said deficit. And if you want to argue with it, cool. I don't care. It is a social deficit for a lot of, not all, but a lot of people who are autistic, because it's hard for them to understand not what the words the person's saying or their meaning, but it's hard to understand and relate to the emotional that they're trying to get at. And I say this with all honesty of I've met a bunch. Not all autistic people are like that, and I can't even say the vast majority of autistic people are like that. I can just say that the autistic people that I've met, the ones I deal with regularly, myself at times, all the other autistic people that I'm surrounded by, and some of you folks on social media, we have a hard time not just recognizing the emotion of the person in front of us, but we also have a hard time connecting empathetically with the person in front of us. And I understand somebody's going to throw some fucking study about double empathy and shit. You don't know how to fucking read research, okay? Except for a couple of people who I know actually do know how to read it really, really fucking well, but that not what I'm talking about.
But aren't autistic people hyper empathetic?
Well, that's what I was just saying. The
don't
double
we connect
empathy
with
thing?
deeper emotions, and we love animals
Just
and trains?
Just because you or a lot of autistic people feel emotion a great deal more than other people, maybe, that doesn't mean you're more empathetic and understanding
But I'm an
of
empath.
those emotions.
I'm like,
oh, shut the fuck up, empath. No, you are not Deanna Troy. God damn it.
I'm a betazoid.
No, you're not. See, you're not a fucking betazoid. God
I am.
damn
I'm
it.
an autistic betazoid.
None of us are fucking betazoids.
I touch people and I can feel their feeling.
Oh, good God. No, you can't. Like, no, you fucking can't. And here's how I know.
I absorb your emotions through a quartz crystal.
Yeah. Here's a basic fucking test. And it is not by any means a definitive fucking test, okay? You can go on to Embrace Autism, the website. It's got a bunch of psych assessments geared towards neurodivergency.
The one that Nathan Fielder took? Where it shows people's eyes and you have to tell them what their emotion is?
Go take that. And I want you to look at a fuck ton of them. And there are ones there that you're going to get fucking wrong. And one of the reasons why you get it wrong is because we generally, and this is a general fucking statement, generally we can see positive, negative really, really fucking well. And unless it's a more extreme emotion, like nuances in emotion is not fucking most autistic people's fucking strong suit. And I can tell you that because we say things honestly and sometimes bluntly without a regards for somebody else's fucking reaction. And then I know there's going to be some fucking activist monkey who's going to like throw out there, oh, but I feel other people's emotions. That's not an autistic problem. Yes, it actually fucking is. Identifying other people's mental state.
Nathan Fielder took the eye test thing on the show, and he failed it, and then he was trying to play it off like, oh yeah, no, it could be that emotion, you know.
It could be,
yeah.
And because
I could see that. Yeah, I could see how that could be anger.
Here's one of the things about acceptable and unacceptable behavior that I want to get into. I really wanted to get into this part because this is where I have fucking major social deficits, in my opinion, major social deficits when it comes to this acceptance and acceptable and unacceptable
When you said
behavior.
that, I just pictured like a major in the army. Like I'm
hand
major
to salute
social
with.
deficit.
Yeah. By the way, anybody who wants to correct the fact that I used the wrong hand to salute with, I did it because you're not supposed to salute indoors, so I used the wrong fucking hand on purpose. Anyway, so when it comes to acceptable and unacceptable, here's one of the things when it comes to social standard of these two sides. I've been in groups, okay, where insulting, making fun of, roasting your buddies, saying super inappropriate shit, blatantly hurting fucking people's feelings was completely acceptable. And it was rewarded. They would laugh until he's such a great joke. And it was, oh my God, it was wonderful. And the worse off the comment is, the better, the more positive reinforcement you got from it. But then when you take that same behavior and you put it into a different environment or new people you're meeting, even though you've built up this habit, this behavior pattern of doing that stuff, and you've been praised for it, so it's built into you more, you do it in that environment, and now it's a bad thing. And for a very long time, I had a hard time shifting my behavior left, right, and center into different groups because what's wrong with it? I don't understand why it's such a problem.
Yeah, it's kind of like saying hello to your neighbor's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're on stage doing a Roman salute, now it's a problem.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, actually, I can't argue your analogy, although yes.
It was a joke.
I know it was a joke, and I hope to God somebody else finds it that way too.
It's fine. You want to clip me out doing a Roman salute? That's fine. I'm fine with
Yeah,
it.
go fucking head, man. So
This just in.
One of
On
my
the Spectrum
things-
podcast is Nazis.
yeah, whatever. One of my things about that the word thing or the joke thing, right? Me and you are comedians. We do improv a lot, and me and you like to lean on the more roasty style of comedy. And something like I had to point out to somebody the other day that like that shit doesn't stop once we get off stage. Like there's no shut off switch to doing that.
Yeah, but you just got to know when
do it
there's a
lot.
time and a place for it. Like I don't sit at work and make fun of my coworkers.
But we had to trial and error that for a very long time. It's not like, one day we were just like, oh, this is where to do it and this is where not to do it. No.
But you also been in situations where like I've worked with people where everybody makes fun of each other.
Right.
But then at some point somebody takes it too far and then somebody actually gets offended.
And that's the thing about taking it too far. Knowing those boundaries or those limitations, that you can only cross it once you cross it. You can't be told ahead of time, here's the line. I mean, even though we say in the comedy group when we're rehearsing, we don't allow racial slurs in any way, shape, or form. We don't allow, demeaning or diminishing language towards any group of people, really. But somebody always ends up crossing the line somehow. And sometimes it just slips out, and sometimes it's just, they're alluding to something, and they don't necessarily mean it that way, but it happens because until you cross a line, you can't know the line is there. Now, there are extremes where you can absolutely know. Like, don't say the fucking N-word. Like, don't say the N-word. Got it. But people have made references to slavery that some person might think was racist to say and somebody might not. And there's a gray area in there when it comes to it.
Yeah.
And I mean, granted, it's mostly Ian that fucking makes those jokes, like the chicken and waffle jokes and the fucking watermelon jokes. It's usually Ian doing that. But, well, it's because the rest of us are white and we don't dare do it. But, well, not always. But anyway, where was I? I derailed my own fucking train, goddamn. Oh, but you can't always know where somebody's line is. And it's been my experience that I have to figure out where the line is. And when I say have to, I literally mean every time I meet somebody new, I always have to try to, inch up to whatever fucking boundary that I had with somebody else. And unfortunately, I can't, because I'm now meeting the person for the first time, I have to take the way somebody else who acted, looked, and seemed like them. I have to take the way that other person behaved or how they reacted to it to actually have a guide for it. Right. And so I've always got to walk that line very cautiously up to being comfortable or being who I am. And yeah, I cross the line at times, being referred to as overly opinionated.
Well, a few things to say about that.
Which
So
I'm not even sure what overly in that would mean.
typically, if I'm saying more offensive or edgier things to somebody, it's because I actually like them or I have a good relationship with them. If I'm poking fun at somebody or making jokes about somebody that I don't like or I'm not as close to, then they're usually not very edgy. They're usually like softer jokes or something. I'm not going to say something really out there about somebody who I don't get along well with.
Right.
So if I'm insulting you badly, it's because I have a good relationship with you. The other thing is when it comes to saying jokes in general, I think the good rule of thumb is talking about yourself and your own experiences.
Yeah.
Being self-deprecating and talking about your own life experiences and faults is a good way to do it because people are going to get mad about something you say no matter what when it comes to comedy. Like people get offended about everything.
Right.
But it's harder for people to get upset or like talk shit about you if you're insulting yourself or you're talking about your own life experiences. Like if I got up on stage and made jokes about my own experience with autism, I'm sure some people in our community would get offended.
Shit fit about it.
But I think the majority of people would be like, well, I'm talking about my own lived experience.
I know it, and I get that if you're a stand-up, that makes sense to me. We do improv, which means we're not ourselves 90% of the time on stage.
Right. Like if I'm writing jokes, jokes, or even like if I'm doing.
But that's why I'm putting the context on it, because stand-up, yes, you're absolutely right. You should probably talk about your own fucking experience.
Right, but I do write too. So like if I'm writing a sketch or writing a play or something, and I'm making jokes in it, I write about stuff that I can personally relate to, because I'm not going to write a play about the struggles of a black guy living in the hood. Yeah. Because
no shit. So none of this applies to what I just said then.
I would just
like I'm just throwing it out there. Like
I'm saying that's a good
as a writer.
That's a good way to avoid upsetting people.
So in that though, the point I was trying to make about bringing up the fact that we do improv is, oh man, I got derailed again. Having a hard time focusing. Well, maybe you can relate to somebody. One of the points I was trying to make with it is you can't necessarily know for your audience. And like, yes, you can put controls in place like that to a degree, but you also have to be who you are, because you can't not be who you are. Like you can't just shut off parts of who you are. And like one of the things about it is like people, prime example, people love it when I make fun of other people. They think it's hilarious when I make fun of other stuff. But when I make fun of them, they have a problem with it. And yes, of course, everybody just went, yeah, no shit, that makes sense. Like just common sense. But the thing about it is I make fun of everything. It doesn't stop at some point. Who I am is that person. And so it doesn't just go away. Having 1,000 opinions doesn't stop just because you don't want to hear it anymore, especially if you don't say you don't want to hear it. So when it comes to that acceptable, unacceptable, that's kind of where I'm going with it is if somebody says I'm overly emotional, that's their description. What does that even fucking mean? Overly, right? Like, where's the line for it? Overly opinionated, where's the fucking line for that? In different environment, when I'm directing a play, everybody expects me to have a fucking opinion immediately and readily 100% of the time for absolutely fucking everything. Even things they should fucking have an opinion about. But they want me to have it that way. But that doesn't stop once the play is over. Like, that's part of who I am, is to have a comment for everything. And it's something that has caused me a great deal of social discomfort, let's call it.
Can't you just stop being a cynical asshole?
No. And that's just it. Like, I don't even think of myself as being cynical. Asshole, been called it enough.
I would say cynical because a lot of times you make critical comments, criticizing or making fun of things.
Yeah.
So I would say that people would interpret that as being cynical.
Yeah. All right. So cynical, sure.
It's like always looking at the negative, kind of.
But I don't always look at the negative. Well, so let me also phrase it this way: if you don't know somebody well enough, you don't know what their intent is. Like, nobody reads minds. And I'm sorry to break it to some fucking people.
Do.
There are no psychic fuckers on the planet.
I'm a Betazoid.
Oh, my good God. So nobody is an empath.
Maureen Hancock was
okay.
Medium.
And actually, I challenge anybody who believes themselves to be an empath, come on this show, have a fucking conversation with me, and I'll prove you're not a fucking empath. I'll prove you can't read fucking auras. You're not goddamn psychic. You're just reading facial expressions.
Let me get my tarot card.
You're listening to the tone of somebody's fucking voice. That does not make you fucking psychic. Fuck, I can do that shit.
I'm sensing someone with the letter P. Is it important to you? Does P mean anything to you? Like Paul, Peter?
How many names you gonna go
Preston
through? John Edwards.
I'm getting a vision of sausage. Was sausage, does sausage mean anything to you?
I can't
breakfast sausage.
Like, I can't believe there's some people stupid enough to believe in that shit. Like, honest to God, don't believe in that shit.
You can't say that because I've gotten into huge arguments with people making fun of astrology and stuff like that.
Okay. Astrology's not fucking real. Tarot cards are not fucking real. The crystals don't have goddamn energy. It's your fucking belief and faith in it that has something to do with it. Like, none of that shit's fucking real. Okay? There are no ghosts. There are no fucking aliens. There are no fucking monsters under the bed. None of that shit's fucking real, okay?
But I'm a Betazoid.
But Steve's a Betazoid. Yeah. He's third cousins to Deanna Troi. Man, and I know I sound like a loudmouth asshole at the moment. It's just, I am quite tired at being 45 years old and having to listen to the same fucking arguments about how everybody needs to mind everybody else's fucking feelings, but nobody's fucking minding mine. Like, sorry to make that all selfish about me, but I'm constantly being told that I have to be aware and I have to give a shit about everybody else's fucking feelings.
Yeah, well, it's because you have resting MAGA face, so.
Resting MAGA face.
You're cisgender, straight-looking white guy.
Oh my god!
And you have gray hair, and you're like the oppressor class. You're
Yeah.
part of the problem, so no one cares about your feelings.
Jesus Christ! But that's like, it's okay to fucking call me all that and treat me like shit and not give a fuck about how I fucking feel or what I have to fucking say or my opinion.
Your people had your time.
But I got to give a shit about everybody else's.
Your people had your time.
Sure. So, and I also want to get a little bit more nuanced on this because we're kind of using extremisms and I fucking hate extremisms. I think I actually had a whole fucking rant about extremisms one day. But anyway, I do also want to say that, like, hear people for what they're trying to say opposed to what you assume they're saying, because you ain't smart enough to know what they're saying. And I mean that for absolutely everybody, including some people we've had on this show who are very, very smart human beings, who are very empathetic people. Like, you don't assume you know what the fuck that person's trying to say. And just because you've had a conversation about autism or about vaccines or about healing crystals or heavy metals, just because you've had that conversation 1,000 times with 1,000 other people, you have a unique individual in front of you. You have a very specific human being in front of you. Hear them the fuck out. I'm not saying agree with anything or validate what the fuck they're saying. I'm saying identify the fact that they're an individual in front of them. And at the same time, I mentioned deficits earlier and restricted or rigid thinking. Those are autistic traits, everybody. Like, those are autism. And so to not recognize that, or to say, no, we don't have the problem, everybody else has the problem. Fuck you. We're the ones with the fucking problem. And that's stuff we can work on to a degree. It doesn't make it go away. It doesn't cure it. It doesn't, none of that shit. But there are ways that we can do stuff to soften the way that works.
Listen, in honor of the passing of Ozzy Osbourne, I'm going to get the Black Sabbath MMR shot. So
the Black Sabbath MMR shot
with the extra heavy metal.
Oh, the extra heavy metal. I dig it. God,
do you know
really
that we're going to have
good.
to cancel the show in a few years? Like, probably 2028.
Why?
The show is going to be because RFK is going to cure autism. RFK Jr.
Yeah, even if he... Okay, so let's play this hypothetical
So in 2028, I mean, there's not going to be any more
hypothetical.
autistic people anymore once Trump leaves office. It's all going to be cured.
Well, let's play this hypothetical. Let's say one day...
We're all going to be in camps.
They are able to stop kids from having autism, right? Like, from birth, stop kids from having autism. That still doesn't change the fact there's already a shit ton of autistic people.
What's that genetic... gene altering a thing that people were mad about.
Oh, the recent one?
There's a company that you can
something.
basically edit the genes of your baby to prevent it from having like
genetic abnormalities.
like,
Yeah,
like
Downs and shit.
Yeah, but they can also apparently there's genes related or gene sequences that are autistically that have a correlation with autism. So they can target those to help prevent your kid to have autism.
Great. And so if somebody wants to pay that money, great, good for you. Go do it.
It's called sequence or something. I don't know what it's called.
But even if you can, there's still a bunch of people who are already autistic.
You're saying that you condone eugenics? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't condone eugenics, but I will say that, like, if you're, I'll make this stance. All right, I'll probably regret this later, but I'm going to make this stance. If you're a person who says that no autistic person suffers with autism, fuck you. Because there are people who are heavy fucking support needs that their parents, if given the fucking choice, would alleviate the frustration, the struggle, the hardship that their child
There's plenty of
is having.
lower support needs people who struggle.
They do, but they don't struggle as much as
Maybe not
high
as much,
support
but
need.
the
Yeah, I said you don't struggle as much. Yeah, I said that.
but
Sorry,
I think that
I made a comment
to
about
play
that
devil's advocate.
on somebody's video, and they were like, "You don't know what people are going through." I know you don't struggle as much as somebody who cannot fucking
Does that
talk,
mean, though,
can
like,
barely
let's
fucking
say-
feed themselves, and cannot wipe their own ass. I know you
There
don't
are-
struggle as much.
There are I haven't like read a lot of these arguments,
okay.
but I'm playing devil's advocate.
Yeah,
I would
please.
imagine that the
Please.
people who are against it would say that it's eugenics, but they would also
Sure.
say that like there's something kind of there are beautiful parts or nice things about being autistic, or the way that our brains work differently can be a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And then there's also like lots of us who are extremely talented, or you have people who are savants,
Yeah, but
and
so-
you'd be giving up some of that stuff as well.
But that would be saying fix or help alleviate all, and I'm not talking about everybody.
Right, but that's what
I'm
people are
talking
saying
about-
it will lead to is eventually that
I understand.
every
Somebody thinks it'll lead
because
lead to
let's
that.
say that people are paying for this gene sequencing stuff now, but let's say it becomes common practice in the future because there's a lot of things that start out as like
that have good intentions and then
no, that's
used
not
in
even
a bad way.
that's not even what I'm
Oh,
saying.
I
I'm
thought
saying
that's
there are
where
things
you're
that
going.
start out as like optional medical, that start out as something elective or optional that eventually becomes standard practice.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things like if you're going to have a baby, there's things they test for and screen for and stuff like that. What if eventually it becomes part of it? Like, we screened in your zygote has autism. We're gonna correct it, or we're gonna replace their genes.
Or we're gonna make it so they don't have autism.
Right.
I would say that yes, there is some beautiful stuff about being autistic, and there's some cool ways to think autistically, and there's different interactions and differences that people have that's really, really fucking cool. And there's wonderful creativity that can come with some people who have autism. But I also know that there are people who struggle a great fucking deal and they don't have to. I also know that the parents and loved ones of somebody who struggles a great deal with autism don't have to. Or at that point, they wouldn't have
There's
to.
plenty of people who would say we don't need a cure because there's nothing wrong with us.
You're right. And those assholes do not have high support needs, like at fucking all. And I know because your perspective dictates you do not have high support needs. And
'Cause essentially
I
it'd
need
be-
you to go hang out in a group home and see how somebody who has high fucking support needs, how they fucking suffer. Or more specifically, how others around them get affected by it. Sorry, I get a little passionate about it because these are people who are supposedly trying to speak for all people who are autistic, but they don't get, they don't understand that the vast majority of people who are autistic, okay, are not high support need autistic people. And when they say there's nothing wrong with autism, you are right. Where you are on the spectrum, and yeah, I'm using severity language, fuckers, where they are is less severe to the point where that they can still have a decent good day or two. But there are some folks who have autism, who have other things that are co-occurring with that autism that would choose to not fucking have either one of those fucking things because their life is infinitely harder and it's for no other reason other than they fucking have these things. And that's not to put blame on them at all.
I think that the people who make this kind of arguments would also say, I'm not making an argument one way or the other because I don't really know how I feel about it. But I think they would say something along the lines of like, you're basically saying that those autistic lives don't matter or they don't have value because you're saying
Wait,
that
who? The high support need?
no any so if we can just turn a switch and get rid of it, right? And
Yeah.
just remove those genes that are related to it or cause it, if we can cure it, right? You're saying
sure.
that those people's lives don't have any value because we'd prefer
no.
that those
No.
people not be born.
No. I'm not saying don't let them be born. I'm not saying that they don't deserve to live.
But they wouldn't be
I'm
the same person if
saying-
you're altering their genes.
They wouldn't be the same person if they had different parents. They wouldn't be the same people if we gave them coffee at the age of 3 opposed to milk. Like they wouldn't be a different, they would be a different person for 1,000 different fucking reasons. But in this regard, it's kind of like, if we ask somebody who grew up most of their life, who was born blind, okay? And I don't know because I've never asked this question of somebody, but if somebody was born blind, okay, I would think that most people who are born blind, that have a genetic abnormality that created them to be blind at birth for whatever the issue is, if you ask them at the age of 21, if you could have been born with the ability to see, would you have chosen to? I think they would say yes for the most part. I think a couple of lucky few are going to be like, no, because I'd be a different person. And you're right, you fucking would be, because you didn't grow up fucking blind.
Set you off on a tangent. I just was curious because I remember it's something I haven't. I actually should look more into it because I've seen a lot of people talking about it on Reddit and on Facebook specifically. People complaining about the company that's coming up with this gene altering thing.
They're talking about eugenics, and nobody's talking like I'm personally.
But I don't really know much about how it works or what it is. I just know that they can alter the genes of your sperm and egg so that when you make the baby, that you can remove undesirable traits.
Right, and so be it. But the baby's still fucking born, so the human still exists. I'm not talking about eugenics. I'm not talking about getting rid of
but
people.
People are probably sensitive about it because of the history of eugenics in the U.S.
Yeah, of course,
and like the Nazis.
Of course. Oh, and
what if they decide to like
those people?
What if we decide to we're gonna genetically alter all of our babies to be blue-haired, and then blue-eyed, and
and then they
blonde
fear
hair.
that shit's going to get to that fucking point. But all I'm talking about, and literally all I'm fucking talking about, is
you also could make babies that are all like athletes. Like you could select the genes
but I'm not.
So we have like a super race of people that are all like super strong and beautiful.
You're fucking playing into their fear, because that's the fear of some of these people that think everything's fucking eugenic.
Well, if you can select
that's
the genes,
fucking fear.
If we know like, all right, these genes align with athleticism, these genes align with beauty. Like we know that this sequence is more likely to produce somebody who's attractive. Now you have like these super athletes who are all hot.
Great. And some asshole's probably going to do that. Shit happens. I'm talking about for the vast majority of people, like if you could prevent spinal bifida, why wouldn't you? If you could prevent certain things like heart defects that are genetic.
If you could prevent forest fires. Well, actually, only you can.
Yeah.
Only you can prevent
only me. Just me.
Smokey the Bear said so.
One of the reasons why I feel so strongly about this is because people want to talk about how we need to help people who are more oppressed, who are treated like shit, who are invisible in our society, who have it harder than other people in our society. But most of you aren't doing shit about it.
Except the Betazoids.
Exactly, except for the Betazoids. But most of you aren't doing shit about it. Like there's one creator on TikTok that I come across their videos, and their videos are centering themselves in how much they're hurt by somebody else being treated like shit. It's not even about other people. They made this whole video about how they give a shit about how horrible people are treated in Palestine, but every one of their statements was, I feel bad. I'm depressed because of. Fuck you. It's not even about Palestine at that fucking point. Shut the fuck up. And I know everybody's like, hey, you're one and shit. I very much believe that if we have the ability to prevent somebody from being born with something that makes their life goddamn way harder than it needs to fucking be and affect that many other people around them, then why are we not trying to help that? On top of that, if we just come up with a fucking, and there's no way this could fucking happen because it's genetic, but if they come up with a fucking drug that allows somebody's impulsivity to be improved so they don't bite themselves, so they don't bite their mamas, so they don't bite the daddies, so they don't beat the shit out of the help worker who's trying to be there and give a shit about them, why would we not do that? Why would we not help them to not have to fucking bite themselves or throw themselves against a wall or fucking be impulsive and run out into traffic? Like, why would we not help that? And I know people are going to say, well, if you get rid of autism, they won't be the same person. Yeah, well, I also honestly believe that autism contributes to who you are, is not who you are. Yes, it influences, but also all the external things that have happened to you in your life influence you way fucking more. So all the people that you say, oh, I have to treat me better, well, fucking start treating them better. Like it's two-way goddamn street. Sorry, I'm ranting again, but like it... The amount of people who say you can't get rid of autism because it changes who they are. Yes, it will. But it will also allow them to live a fucking life a lot more independent and a lot better than they're living fucking now. And how do I know they're not living a very good life? Because they're stuck in a fucking group home 24/7, having a bunch of barely paid fucking human beings watch over them and have to follow treatment plans that another asshole who barely gives a fuck about them made, who follows some fucking theory and some fucking somewhat researched fucking behavioral plans and behavioral techniques that only somewhat help. And so, yes, I think they would absolutely fucking choose to be able to do things on their fucking own. So, yeah, that's why I get a little bit passionate about it. Because honest to God, Steve, aren't there days where, like, you have wished that you'd been a different way?
Not anytime recently, but probably in the past, yeah.
Not anytime recently, but the answer, Nick, is yes.
Well, not for a long time is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's
I've kind of
yes.
Because I've come to terms with kind of who I am at this point.
And for the most part, I have too. And
I'm almost 40, so
yeah, like everyone, watch this podcast.
Do you think that?
And you'll notice that only in the last couple of months, Nick's opinion in this has declined a great deal about himself.
Have you? Do you think that if you did not have autism, that you would still be a self-proclaimed asshole?
I think I wouldn't have had to. I think I wouldn't have had to come to terms with the way I am. I think very strongly that if I had been able to recognize things or pick up on certain things a little bit easier, a little faster than I did, as fast as other people, I think I wouldn't have had to make a choice of accepting that moniker. I don't think I would have been given that moniker as much.
Do you think
you wouldn't be? Yeah, I got it. I'm blaming my autism, but well, it plays into it, fuckers.
Well, I mean, because there's parts of yourself that might not change. So,
yeah,
do you think that you would still upset people, or make people would think you're abrasive, or would you still be making fun of people and roasting people, but maybe you'd just be more aware of how people feel?
I think my awareness of other people would have been a little bit better. My impulsivity would have been a little bit better. Do I think I would still be as funny or jokey or even try to be a comedian? I might not have, because I would have been treated differently all along the way. And I wouldn't have had to respond to some of that treatment the ways I did. The ways I chose to. I believe things would have been different enough where I could have maybe in certain ways. And yes, it sounds like regret. And if you listen to a previous episode, I talked about how I don't regret shit. Because recently something happened and that I'm doubting and questioning a fuck ton about myself. And it fucking shook me to my goddamn core. We actually recorded an episode about it and eventually we'll put it out. But I
wanted to make sure that you're comfortable.
Yeah.
I know that you said you were, but once I put it up there, can't take it down.
Yeah, I know. But it has fucking rocked me for months now. Okay? Well, actually only about, month and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, month and a half. But that's a long fucking time for me to fucking doubt a lot of things. And to the point I'm now scared to audition to work with other theater groups. I am scared to apply to be a director for another theater group because it shook me so fucking hard. It is causing, I'm deciding, instead of saying it's causing, I'm deciding to pull back away from entertainment stuff. I am deciding to pull away from doing a bunch of things that do bring me joy because of that effect that I have on people. And I know people would say, well, it's your fucking fault. You're the common denominator. Fucking do something different. Bitches, I'm 45. I've tried to change a lot of different things about me to make myself more palatable for people. But it comes back to the same fucking problem I had all along the way.
Get you a muzzle. Would help.
I've tried not talking, and then people said I'm too fucking quiet, and and I'm an asshole because I'm not relating to anybody, because I'm not being nice to people. Like, fuck, I did an entire theater show where I didn't really talk much at all to anybody, and then everybody thought I was an asshole because they thought I was pompous and entitled, and that's why I wasn't talking to anybody. Because people make their fucking assumptions.
If you don't have enough information, most people's brains fill in the gaps.
But that's just it. They're allowing themselves to automatically fill in those gaps.
Well, that's
in
how
a
our brains
negative
work,
way.
right?
No.
I mean, you know more about
I do.
the brain than I do,
I
but
do. They're feeding into
I'm pretty
their
sure that that's how
assumptions.
brains work, right? Because you
Well,
just
it's not 100% just how our brain works.
well, I
It's-
mean, it's a natural thing our brain does, like as the way we've evolved.
Well, kinda. It's also a response to the way we've been treated because other people
People
have
don't
assumed
like
bad shit.
unknowns, so if you have a certain amount of information,
Okay,
our brains
it's
tend to
not-
fill in the
it's-
gaps.
Okay, it's not as simple as that guy. It's not as simple
Oh.
as the way you just described it. Like it's also about how they perceive other people, how much trust they have in other human beings. It's also a matter of, did somebody else act that way and treat them poorly, so they automatically assume, well, I see the same behavior, so now I interpret it in that negative way all the time, and I don't give benefit of the doubt to people. Like, there's a lot of really ignorant fucks who will automatically assume if you're not talking to them, it's because of them. And they don't take 2 seconds to think it could have something to do with what happened 5 minutes before you saw them. They assume it's because you don't like them, which is very egocentric. It has nothing to do with you. But they assume that because that's their practice, their habit that they've built up. So yes, it is a part of natural human
Do you think that
thought
has to do
process,
with,
but also it's all this other
Do
shit.
you think that's a cultural thing because of the
I
fact
do.
that we live in a very individualistic
Yes,
society?
I do. I do very much think that
The United States is
how egocentric we are is because of that.
The United States is very individualistic versus some other cultures that are more collectivist, or like I think Japan has a less individualistic culture. It's more about the group, the whole. Scandinavia,
Yep.
Scandinavian countries,
Yeah.
like in Japan, for instance, like if you work for a company, it's very much about the team, about everybody contributing. It's not about you as an individual performer. It's about the common goal,
overall.
the
Yeah.
common goal we share.
Exactly. And I know I've been getting worked up in this episode, but this is kind of stuff that I give a shit about.
Do you think it started with participation trophies? No, I'm just kidding. No, in
to a
because
degree, but I think it started long before that too.
with this country, I mean, there are also nice things about highlighting individual performance. You know, when it comes to things like athletics or
positive reinforcement. It's a good thing.
or like people who are really great in a certain field, like the scientist who comes up with some great discovery or invention.
So here's something, and this is something that I've thought about for a long time in this regard, about figuring out like why somebody's doing something. Everyone, including myself, because I've failed at this many a time too. Most people think they're smart enough to figure it out, but the amount of information they lack to be able to figure it out, because there are so many variables they don't know, but they write those variables off, and so they draw a conclusion based on not enough information. Again, I go back to that idea of simplest explanation. Right? The fucking Occam's razor idea. I go back to it all the time because I think it's one of those things that has been built into our society that fucks us up the most. We don't know why the other person is behaving the way they are, but we take what we observe only and we assume, but we insert ourselves some fucking how. Right? Like, we don't know what happened to them earlier that day. We don't know what they're thinking about. We don't know what's going on for them personally. And we don't know how they behave because we don't know them personally. But we make these assumptions about what they're doing and why they're doing it and how they're doing it, even though we lack all these variables to actually be able to make that conclusion. And then we treat them the way our assumptive mind tells us to treat them. And then we've actually created the situation where they don't want to talk to us because we were fucking a dick to them, or we assumed some shit. Like, I don't like that I have to credit this person with this, but I'm going to call this Pepper's Law. Pepper is a nickname of a gentleman I knew many years ago. Okay, in my late teens. Pepper used to constantly say, "Don't make assumptions." 0, period, none. Don't make assumptions, right? And he would constantly critique me and constantly like remind me, that's an assumption. Don't make that assumption. And he was like 90% correct. We shouldn't assume as much as we do. the thing about it is like sometimes you have to make an assumption, especially when you're time pressed to make a decision about something. You have to make an assumption to a degree. But his point is completely valid.
Emergency situations.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a police officer, a firefighter. You have to make
some.
You have to make second decisions with the information you have.
Right. But the vast majority of us don't have to. We don't have to make an assumption of why the guy standing in front of us is tapping his fucking foot on the ground. Could he be impatient? Yes. Could he be pressed for time? Yes. Could he be worried because he's going to be late for work and this is the 9th time he'd been late this month? No, it's nobody else's fault, but he still is acting in accordance.
Well, what about...
But it could also be, is he nervous because he's in a room full of people and he has a neurological condition?
What about this?
Or a difference?
We talked earlier about how it's a common autistic trait.
Yes.
To for it to be harder to interpret facial expressions, right?
Yes.
So could we not argue
Uh-huh.
that when you're saying don't make assumptions, right? There's another piece of the puzzle that you as an autistic person may be missing.
What's that? Help me out.
The facial expression.
Yes.
So let's say you have a harder time interpreting how that person's feeling.
Yes.
But somebody who's not autistic, they're working with an extra piece of knowledge. So maybe they're making assumptions based on the extra information they have, based on the person's facial expression. They're saying, I can tell that person's angry or upset or frustrated.
I agree with you. They might be working with some extra information. And also, when they're looking at somebody who's autistic, are they taking into account that that person's autistic? Because maybe they know, maybe they don't know. And me and you have a flatter affect on our face than other people.
Less expressive?
Yeah, excuse me, everybody. I had to sneeze. Yeah, we're less well, you're less expressive than other people. I'm overly fucking expressive, unfortunately, and I always look pissed off. But I'm not all the time, right?
The Daria effect?
Yes, I have the Daria effect.
I meant me.
But
because she's very flat.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And I've got the Jim Carrey effect, let's call it. The mask effect. Because I'm overly expressive with my face. But the only reason why I became overly expressive in my body and my face was because far too many people were like, yeah, you're not having any fun, are you? No, I am. I'm just not expressing it. So I had to teach myself to talk with my hands and be all expressive with my face and shit and move my face in fucking weird contortions. But it's the assumption of it, right? Like it.
All right, I got a customer the other day.
Does this bother you too?
Customer was talking to me about something. They were making jokes with me. This customer was saying stuff. I didn't think the jokes were funny, but they're like, oh, you're not having fun, are you? Or I'm like,
right.
Like this is just on my faces.
Either fucking way, yeah.
Customers make assumptions about how I feel because of my facial expression is usually pretty flat.
But that's what I mean is like we're all totally fine with everybody making these assumptions.
Wear masks.
But we shouldn't be okay with making these assumptions because we're also writing people off when none of it's true. None of us are smart enough to know what somebody else is thinking. None of us are.
I'm a Betazoid.
How well trained of a therapist you are, you don't fucking know how somebody else is thinking.
I feel like I've been giving guided therapy this whole time.
You are.
Because I've been asking you questions and you've just been talking.
Yeah, I mean, you are doing.
You wanted me to get? I'll get like a couch and you can just lay here.
Well, I mean, you have been moving the conversation forward, so I do.
I'm just asking you questions and letting you share your feelings.
I'm running off of it. It's great.
This will be $135. I do take insurance, but only Blue Cross. So
yeah, that ain't gonna happen. But
I should get paid for this.
So. No, but I appreciate it. I mean, you're doing actually the best thing in the world right now to do, which is helping me move forward, opposed to me just like, you've seen me do it. I'll rotate for like 20 fucking minutes on the same fucking point over and over and over again, saying in multiple different ways. You're actually helping me move forward with it, so I'm not getting stuck. So I do appreciate it.
So we went a little bit off topic, which is fine, but we don't have much time left.
Kinda.
But
I think it all relates. But anyway,
what do you think? So, I mean, closing thoughts here. So, right, what do you think? Like you said all this. So, what is the takeaway? What's the key takeaway here?
So, here's a takeaway specifically for autistic people. Okay, and I'm going to start it off by wording it badly. No, you're not smart enough to figure it out. I'm just
unless you're a Betazoid.
Yeah, unless you're a Betazoid, but you're not smart enough to figure it out. So, stop making the assumption. Ask questions. Ask questions. What do they mean? Don't assume you know what the fuck somebody means unless you read minds, and no, you don't read minds.
Unless you're Loxana Troy.
Okay? Unless you're... What?
It's Deanna's mom. Remember her?
Oh, fuck. Oh, yeah, that is her name.
She's full Betazoid because Deanna's only half.
Yeah, isn't...
Loxana can communicate telepathic.
Wasn't that Gene
telepathically.
Roddenberry's wife who played her? She was also the voice of the computer. Anyway, I think that's true.
She was in Deep Space Nine too.
Yeah, she was. It was great. So, takeaway: you're not smart enough to figure it out on your own. You need to ask fucking questions. Don't assume. And just because you've dealt with a type of person 1,000 times, don't discredit the fact you have another human being in front of you, a separate human being in front of you. Talk to that human being, not to the topic and not to the group that they're a part of. Talk to the human being, because that's what you would want from them. And so, yes, I'm going to default back to the rule of treat others the way you want to be treated.
Hey, thanks, Jesus.
Yeah. Thanks, Guy, for having a good point of view. But
I could go for some blood of Christ right now.
like, and honest to God, if you hate fucking neurotypical so fucking much and you don't like what they do, then stop acting like them. So many of you fucks online act like fucking neurotypicals, and yet all you do is bitch about neurotypicals, but yet you act so much like them. God damn. I mean, so do I.
If you can't beat them, join them. I'm just kidding. Listen, all right, so I'm just excited to see what happens over the next 3 or 4 years as RFK Jr. cures autism and we get all the autism camps. He's getting rid of vaccine research. Did you see that?
My God. Yeah.
They're cutting down on vaccine. I'm going to have less Black Sabbath in my veins.
Yeah. There was some woman,
Maha,
I guess
make
there was
America
a
healthy
woman who
again.
was financially sponsored or was given a lot of money by NIH, and she was like super close to being able to like stop some disease or something. Like, it was AIDS research. And like he stopped that research too. Or some shit like that. I think it was AIDS research.
I saw this picture that was pretty cool, and it was somebody turned RFK Jr. into like a what do you call it? Like a what are those things from D&D? The fucking tentacle people.
Oh, the fucking thing with the eyeballs and the I don't know.
Well, they turned him like he had like these brainworm things controlling him and stuff.
That's awesome. Funny. That's awesome. You know who would know the answer to that? Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah. Laura and Greg would know because they run a D&D game.
Excuse me, it's your turn to roll. You have to roll a Constitution check for 12 Constitution check.
Yeah. I actually got asked to be a part of a monthly D&D game, but I only paused to join them because yet again it's another opportunity for me to piss people off.
The snack bringer?
I don't want that anymore.
They want you to be part of it, bring the snacks.
Well, the guy who invited me actually likes me a bunch, and we did a play together. But the problem with it is like I'm in this funk, and I used to always want to be social and meet new people and shit, but I'm such at a place where like I don't know if I can deal with the rejection anymore. I
have a level 8 Wood Elf Druid named Silverthorn.
What's wrong with D&D? Nothing's wrong with D&D. Anyway,
I've never played. Actually, I had
never played
this
D&D?
reminded me. I had these 2 young ladies come into my store the other day, and I was surprised because apparently they both play D&D. So apparently, young girls in their 20s play D&D nowadays. But they were asking me questions, and I mentioned that we do improv and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then she was like, "Oh, you should DM." And I'm like, "Why?" She's like, "Because a lot of she's like, I've worked with people who do improv and she's done a bunch of D&D, and she says that a lot of times people who improvise or do improv are good at DMing because you have to like make shit up and so
like just on the spot.
They were encouraging me to try it out.
Yeah, I used to be a GM, a game master for a couple of White Wolf games, which is another role-playing tabletop game.
Yeah.
Anyway, boys and girls, if you've made it to this point of the episode, then you have nothing to do. And I appreciate it. So like, subscribe, follow, tell a friend, and more importantly, tell me. Tell me if you like, dislike, agree, or disagree with anything in this. If you'd like us to elaborate on things, talk to us. You know, give me something to do when I'm on social media more so than I have to listen to other people fucking assume shit. But anyway, thank you for listeing.
Pee pee poo poo.